All right, hey guys, Sam back with you here, November 29th. We're midday. We're doing traditionals today. And as I always remind you, these are chosen by the members. So this is our look here at the Australian dollar to the US dollar. And I've got a daily chart up here. I can understand why people wanted to look at this. This is it's a tricky one, right? So you have to make some judgment calls in here. It's not crystal clear, but I think this is a reasonable count, and we'll just work through it here real quickly. So this fairly solid impulse here. So you got to look. Well, so you kind of have to go back. Let me go back to the 3-day and say, well, if that's an impulse, what are we doing here? Right. So in the idea that we're going to go 5 and 3. Well, it's hard to say here because we don't have enough history as to how this could have been. So this could have been A, B, C finishing down here. A little problematic. All right, so what do you do with it? Well, it's hard to call this an ABC, or it's just almost no way to get that count to fit. So I will lean into this. So I think we've got, so it becomes a conundrum here. What did we finish here that would lead us into this very long-term, I'm on a 3-day impulse here. So I can't go any longer. So I don't think I have even data for the weekly. Yeah, so just here on TradingView, I can only go back to, what do I got, 06 here. Frustrating. But so if we go, let's take it back to the daily and look at this and see if we can make sense of it. Since I've got this 5-wave here, now where it's a little problematic is up here, right? So where's your 1, 2? 1, 2. So I looked at a couple of different alternates here, and this seems to play best because of this, because I get this very just crystal clear ABC right here. I'm inclined to go 1, 2 there, and then yet again 1, 2. So we can get a clean 5 coming down here. So I kind of had to work backwards, which is often what you'll find you'll need to do, is work backwards. So if this is an ABC, then this has to be our 3. Well, how am I getting to the 2, 1? So where's the 2? So the deepest retracement is here because this looks like it's the 3, 4 of a leading diagonal. So note here, we have a diagonal, a leading diagonal here, right? So there's the overlap. So that gives us that diagonal format. I can get that off here. So we get this kind of leading diagonal. 1, 2, push for the 3, 4, overlaps the 1, down we come. So you'd have to, it's not perfect. You'd have to go ABC, ABC. I don't see a better way to count this. So the alternate would be that you've done, so if you're thinking, oh, well, I've got an impulse here. Well, now I'm looking for an ABC. Well, I suppose you could make a case that you had ABC here, that you had A, B, and then you were down for the C. I think that looks less likely because this looks more like a 4, and like we've just started the process of finishing this 5-wave structure based on this action here. Now, there's potentially a bullish count here, but given the depth of this, I think what's more likely here is that we're just in the beginning of the 5th wave, and then if we get any kind of a rally, that's likely the 2 before we go down 3, 4, and 5. It's hard to see another count here that works off of this. So if this is the 2, then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Now you can just look here. So if we look at the length of that 3rd, so 3, 4, 5 looks good. So I can get 1, 2, 3, overlap 4, 5. So 1, 2. So here's where you got to make your best educated guess. It looks like, so this being the 1 here, so we are looking for an impulse here, so we don't threaten that. So I go 1, 2, 3. Now you can just eyeball it here, and I'll show you here. So if this is the 1 is correctly identified, then that starts here. So there's 1, there's 2. All right. So here's 100%. So 3 is shorter than 1. Say, oh, wait a minute, potentially that's a problem because at first glance you might think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it doesn't work because this can play as a 3, 4, 5. Remember, 3rd doesn't have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. So that's the 3 here. All right, we pull it up here. So we make 618, but here would be 100% where the 2 and the 3 would be equal. So the 5th is shorter than the 3rd. The extension's in the 1. I think that's That's a reasonable count here. It's relatively technical down here. And then it looks like we get an A, B, C into the B, and then we finish with this little diagonal, which is pretty easy to spot here. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 into a double top for the 5. That appears like what we have here to finish the C wave. So I have this as the C finishing the 4. So you might anticipate, oh, okay, well, if that's so we're here on the blue degree. If that's the 2 up here and this is the 4, well, we're right in the sweet spot. And it looks like maybe we ran into some of this right here, right? Came into play. Right, this prior support here becomes the resistance over here. You can see we had a little squiggle here, same kind of a thing. So this is an area the market's paying attention to. Looks like I can go A, B, C for that 4. So it's, now symmetry's not perfect, right? So we'd look here and say, okay, well, that's the 2. And then compare this to the 4. Well, it's not ideal, right? But it's not so extreme or so deep in the retracement that I would disqualify it. So I think that plays fairly well here, particularly given what we see now. So if it's correctly labeled, then this is 1, 2, big 3. We can put our channel on it, connecting the 2 and the proposed 4. If this is going to rally here, now we have today you've got the Fed meeting minutes coming out. There's enough that could spark some volatility here. But if we get anything at all, what I think is more likely here, the 1 is in, the 2 is potentially here. We're going 3, 4, and 5 down here. I'll just placeholders down here in terms of where we might be going. So we've got an algo target here. It might be something along these lines. Catch the median line, 3, 4, 5 down here. Looks like a reasonable roadmap. So the next trade is on the retracement, trying to play the 2 for the 3, right? So you've got a little spot right here where this would be an ideal. So you'd be bumping into the edge of you can call it a trend line, the trend channel. So if we're coming up into this and we get a pivot here, this would be an ideal short. Right, but I would let's get through the announcement here. Now, of course, as always, I've shown this before, whenever you're trading FX, you got to come over here. This is probably the most well-known and most commonly used. This is over on forexfactory.com. You just go to calendar. We can look and see, well, what's coming up in the Aussie dollar? Well, here's the Fed meetings. So red is high impact. The pound will have some. We have nothing really high impact. So, this will move all markets because the dollar will react based on that. You can see what it's done to the S&P. After his comments yesterday, just in public speaking, you saw the rip in the S&P, and then you're getting follow through again today. So could be a little bit of a, buy the rumor. Do we get a sell the fact? It remains to be seen. Then we've got the G20 coming on Friday. So you've got plenty of news that's potentially here that could move the market. Oh, shit. Now I got to find it again. Okay, there we go. So it looks to me like this is an opportunity here. So I would stay, now I'm on a daily chart, right? So I would have a little alert go off on the 50. See if I like that. When we hit the 50, we've got a little structure here that might come into play. So you might eyeball that. So you could alert just that level there. So if we're going to come up into this zone, I do like that. So in between the 50 and the 618, so you can put your stop at the 6.5. So let's get our short position set up here. So let's take the 50, 65. We're going all the way down. Well, there's 8.5 to 1. Hard not to like that, right? Just finishing a 5-wave structure, right? Here's the 1, 2. If we're going to go 3, 4, 5, you got a pretty juicy trade there. All right, so that's a trade I'll take. So I'll let the Fed meetings clear. We'll see what kind of reaction we get here. Then that's something that I'll be looking for entry here. Now we got a bit of a so remember this is a daily chart, so that's a bit of a push. We're going to need to get up there. We're at 73.06. That's at 75, mid 75s. So it's going to need a pretty good rip to get up there. But that's very, very tradable. I like that. I love the risk reward. I like that I can see clearly where I'm out. There's just nothing not to like here. Right? So if you're an FX trader, as I often like to say, why would you not take that trade? So what would be the alternate? So the low is already in, and this is 1, 2. I suppose, right? It's still internal as long as we stay above this pivot. We have an internal. It sure looks more like. So I think the tell here is this, that we've got this nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finishes it. So we finish, and with that rip, It looks a lot more like a 1 or a motive wave. In fact, it's an impulse, right? So we get an impulse heading off of this pivot. That looks like 1-2 to me. So there you go. That's teed up here for FX traders. I'll have an order sitting there as to whether or not it gets filled or not, but that's something I will definitely trade. My preferred asset class is foreign exchange. So there you go. All right, so there's some analysis, a few things to learn. Yeah, if you've got an alternate account, if you're a member, I'd love to see it. All right, if you're on YouTube, post away. Right, I'd be curious to see what you come up with. Otherwise, I think that's just sitting there. That's a must take. Right, with good risk reward. Okay, guys, I'll wrap it there. Stay tuned. We will have this new FX series as soon as I can get it done. It's coming soon, I promise. It's the latest. I'll finish it over this coming weekend. So there you go. All right, guys, have a good